Hey there, Georgie here with Ukraine Matters. Donald Trump's administration supposedly just released a statement that they will be meeting with Putin next week, and also some details dropped on what is the proposal, supposedly, for the agreement. And I just wanted to release this video as soon as possible to shut down all of the talks about the possible ceasefire, the possible deal, and I explained to you like how idiotic this proposal is, and no one in their right mind will obviously agree to it. Firstly, let's talk about what's on the table, and then we're gonna talk about the nonsense. So under the supposed agreement, the Trump's administration is going to present ultimatum to Europeans and Ukrainians in a take it or leave it scenario, stating that Russia will take over full of the Donbass region and will hand over back to Ukraine either fully Zaporizhia and Kherson region, or other sources are claiming just some parts of Zaporozhye and Kherson region. That is the statement. So the key point that we need to understand here is what supposedly Ukraine gets and what supposedly Russia gets. So Russia would get basically this whole huge pocket of territory. It's golden, I'm going to put it red. So this whole pocket of territory, basically, and Pokrovsk-Mirnograd. So far, all of these years, Russia has fought for mostly rural regions. Like there were a couple of big towns, but they never really fought for the center of population. In this pocket right here, this is the center of population. This is also center of fortifications for Ukraine. So Ukraine would hand over basically the main strongholds and all of the defensive lines against Russia that were built over the last couple of years. Everything. And without even talking about the people and so on. We're going to talk about it in a second. And then Ukraine would get, potentially, if we're talking about the full regions, then the region of southern Kherson, which is here, bordering Crimea, and south of Zaporizhia. Notably, Mariupol is counted as a Donetsk region, so the city of Mariupol would not go back to Ukraine. Most of this area is rural, but Russia would supposedly, if they give up territories fully to Ukraine, then they would remove the land bridge that actually, if you remember, at the start of the war was cited by some people as the whole pretense to the war. And most importantly, they would get the nuclear power station that is located right over there. This is the exchange. And to say that the exchange is not equal is an understatement. As I already started talking, there is a lot of fortifications in the area of Sloviansk and Kramatorsk. This is the heart for Ukrainian defense in this region. Russia has spent many years and they barely achieved halfway movement towards these fortifications. This would basically require Russia to sacrifice another million or two to potentially capture this region, this part of the region, if they would want to capture it by force. This is the price, essentially, that Ukraine is giving away, and Russia is just kind of just taking over. It's insanity to sacrifice this position from the military standpoint. And then from the civilian standpoint, we often talk about territories. We talk about what territories Russia captured, what territories Ukraine captured, but it's irrelevant because the main part is the people. So what basically this would says that millions of people that are living still in these territories would potentially need to relocate for no apparent reason. And even that way, like, because right now, yes, they're relocating, for example, from the front line because Russia is advancing, but this was what fighting war, so there's still a chance that Ukraine will be able to fight back. And if the war is supposedly over, which is, again, we're going to talk about it later, that it is not, then Ukraine is just going to get into disadvantage. So that's already out of the table as being a complete disaster militarily. Then if we're looking militarily in the south, then obviously it's nice if Ukraine will get all of the territories. But to be honest, Something tells me that likely scenario is not that Ukraine is going to get all of the territories, but supposedly Ukraine only will get the nuclear power plant and maybe a corridor to that nuclear power plant. And Russia would still insist on keeping the southern corridor for themselves, potentially splitting it in half and stating that this is a major concession on their part. And this would basically not give Ukraine shit. Now, nuclear power station is nice and all, but like it's not the only nuclear power station in Ukraine. The nuclear power station has been there for a while, and the only benefit that Ukraine would get potentially is that Russians would be pushed back towards the sea, so they would not be able to, for example, target Kherson with their drones and FPV and do the human safari that Russians are doing right now. This was from the military matter. Then from the civil matter. You need to understand that Ukrainian society is extremely antagonistic to Russia. And more importantly, they're also extremely antagonistic to Donald Trump. Right now, there's about 15-16% sort of an approval rating of Trump within Ukraine. It's extremely low, extremely low. So anything Trump says is already being considered to be like absolute dog shit. And despite the fact that there is a lot of polls that are stating that Ukrainians are looking for some kind of peace negotiated solution, they are not looking to surrender. They are not looking to just give stuff to Russia. Ukrainians are stating that the only peace that they're looking for is basically sort of what Zelensky tried to deal with Trump, that maybe lines will be frozen at the current contact line, and then potentially some kind of a return of territories will begin to Ukraine through the diplomatic means. Again, finishing the war for Ukraine and their position, which is rock solid. It has been repeated by Zelensky and every other politician in Ukraine that return of territories can be done diplomatically. But if the war is stopped, that doesn't mean that territories will be just handed over to Russia. In the proposed deal, it is supposedly expected that it will be recognized by the Europeans and Americans that the territories that Russia controls is the territories that will stay with Russia. This is not even closely negotiable tactic. And most importantly, for Ukrainian president, we recently had the show of Ukrainian resistance to some laws that did not like. You know, we saw like how quickly the anti-corruption independence removal law was shut down by people just taking to the streets and telling their government, saying, it is country by the people, for the people. You have no right doing so. And then the government backed off. If anyone even closely suggests what is being right now proposed, the population of Ukraine will eat them alive. It doesn't matter if it's a Trump, American, I don't know, like Lincoln zombie alive coming back like the second coming of the Christ. Sorry for blasphemy here. But that would be insane. Like, it will be absolutely unacceptable for the Ukrainian society. So on all levels, military, diplomatic, the societal, this is a non-starter scenario, and it is clear that Putin knows it. But the only thing is that Donald Trump really wanted to get something from Russia, and I don't know why he thinks that this is something, why he thinks that this allows him to make some kind of ultimatums for Europeans and Ukraine. But this is an absolute joke, and it has no basis in reality. So if you were expecting there's going to be some kind of a negotiated peace settlement, I'm sorry to disappoint, it's not. Thank you so much for watching this. I hope this will make it a little bit clearer. I'm recording it during deep night because I just wanted to get it out so we potentially don't get the spread of misinformation super out there, and you will be able now to shut down any potential rumors. I love you. Slava Ukraini, and I'll see you guys next time.
you.